that location, because it would flash yellow. It'd be solar powered, wouldn't have no electric to it. But that's just a suggestion. And also, again, I'd like to rail against this president. You know, the inflammatory language is contributing to a rise in the threats against journalism. You know, when he talks about fake news and false stories, it'll lead to violence. And you know, I can't pin the balance on him in Annapolis, but you know, there's plenty of lives at risk, and it's undermining the democratic ideas of our nation, and that it's eroding one of our country's greatest exports, the commitment to free speech and a free press. And this president just will not. He's a pathological liar, and that's just it. He is. I seen one where he run the casinos, and he was talking about all these slot machines going down, and he was lying about what happened. You know, it was just an outright lie. And instead of a president drawing the nation together, he's separating it. You know, he's separating it by class warfare. You know, and Cantor was a good example in Virginia when he lost his seat in Congress. You know, and believe it, I cannot understand this nationalistic, tribal, you know, views of these people. You know, if you're not Native American Indian, you're an immigrant. That's just it. You come from another country. But yeah, that's just what I like to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Bernie Sandler.
Good evening. Bernard Semler, 13223 Gentry Drive. I also own property in the city limits, and my law firm's downtown, right above Lou's. Thank you for having me here tonight. I think 5 months ago, I announced my candidacy for Washington County State's Attorney. During that past 5 months, I think I've spoken to practically every law enforcement agency in the county, whether that be FOP, your Washington County Sheriff's Office, your Hagerstown Police, your Hancock Police Department, Smithburg Police Department, Boonesboro Police Department. I've gone to every town council now. This is my first time here. I've been here for other matters, but this is my first time for this town council. I think the only ones I haven't been to yet are Funkstown and Keedysville, which I'm going to get in the next week. Some I've been to twice, Boonesboro and Smithburg. I've also attended probably a million different heroin and opioid summits and forums. Recently just spoken to people with domestic violence as well as abuse of the elderly. And during that 5-month time, I can tell you, I have not met one police officer, not one, at one law enforcement agency in this town that says that the current Washington County State's Attorney has a clue when it comes to being proactive, dealing with crime in our communities. I can also tell you that having gone to all those town council meetings, I have not met one council member at any of them. Doesn't matter where it is, Williamsport, Hancock, Clear Spring, Boonesboro, Smithburg, Sharpsburg. Not one that says that the current state's attorney cares about their problems, comes to their meetings. Most of the town council members and mayors don't know who the state's attorney is, never seen him, or haven't seen him in over a decade, which is sad because their tax dollars also pay for him to represent them. I can also tell you I've been, as I said, to multiple summits, multiple providers, multiple treatment centers here in our county. I haven't met one person that works in any of those facilities that once again says that our state's attorney has a clue when it comes to treating the opioid epidemic. Just last week, as I said, I met with people that deal with abuse of the elderly, and they said what I hear most often, which is they had put in 7 different phone calls to our state's attorney, and not one had been returned. So I think I held off coming here for 5 months because you guys have your own unique problems. As I said, my house is just off the city line, but I own property in the town. Obviously, I've worked here. I've done law just like Lou for over 10, 12 years. Obviously, Lou's done it a lot longer than me. But you've had an increase in murders, record number of murders, record number of overdoses, record number of fatalities, increase in gang activity. And when you look at these issues, and this is probably one of the reasons I held off, because, I mean, can we really expect our state's attorney to drive, heck, it's what, 10 minutes to go to Boonesboro, Smithburg, Can you expect him to drive 30 minutes to Hancock? I mean, that's asking a lot of somebody. Your state's attorney is a minute outside your door, and I would venture to say that you have the same relationship with him that each and every one of these town councils do. So then that begs the question, who's going to carry the ball and who's going to solve these problems? Now you have, and I'm very fond, and he knows it, of your current police chief, and I think that was a great appointment. But he knows, as you know, he's what, 17 officers down? That's about a fifth or a sixth of your police force. With, I think he has one in the academy now. I'm doing my job, by the way. I think my wife texted him tonight. We have 2 young men that we're trying to get into the academy, so hopefully he'll consider them. He's doing a great job with what he has, but there's a void there. So who's going to fill the void? Who's going to carry the ball? I mean, they're working their butts off, but is it you guys? I think you've done what you can, which is with the downtown, revitalizing downtown. Do I believe that's going to help with the crime? Absolutely. But then if you have a state's attorney that's not willing to carry the ball or doesn't feel that it's his responsibility to carry the ball, that's sad. Then you're going to continue to struggle, and the struggle is going to continue for quite a long time. So that's why I've waited to come here, because as I said, your problems are a little more unique. They can be however you want to label them. They're not always the best labels, but inner city problems, whatever you want to label them, but they exist. And if you're going to have somebody deal with them, then you want somebody that's going to be active, who's going to be present, who's going to understand that you have to proactively and collaboratively deal with law enforcement. Not somebody that's hands-off, disconnected, or dysfunctional. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie. Those are the only 2 individuals signed up. If anybody else wishes to speak, please step up to the microphone, give us your name and address, please. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to City Administrator's comments.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, City Administrator. We'll start with you, Mr. Elshire, tonight.
Just one comment. Just wanted to thank staff for addressing the ongoing issues of the individuals remaining under the underpasses in the west end of downtown near the police station. I know that I've spoken to this issue a number of times in the last several weeks, and I continue to believe that that is an unacceptable thing for the city. I believe that there are a reason that we adopt and implement and enforce codes to address those very types of things that occur within the community. And I know that staff had significant effort in helping at least a number of those individuals find alternative means. And so I just want to say I appreciate that. And hopefully we can continue in that direction.
Mr. Efford.
Just wanted to thank everybody who attended and who worked so hard on putting the bike event together this weekend. That was just a fantastic thing for the community. Everybody I talked to walking around was kind of singing the praises of Hagerstown, and everybody I talked to, they were from parts far and wide across the country. We really drew a really good crowd in here, and a lot of people talking about being here next year and how excited they are about it. So I know we had some unfortunate events that were in the paper over in Clear Spring, but I think those kind of things we'll have to look at next year and figure out how to do a little bit better job with that. But as far as the downtown part, couldn't have been happier. I don't think anybody who attended, either as a spectator or as a participant, could have wanted for anything better. It was first class all the way.
Ms. Cup.
I also want to talk about this weekend. I was lucky enough to be a vendor at the Bike Fest at the Downtown Festival, and we hear all the time that we need activities for kids, and here was this free activity downtown with food, with music, with vendors, with bikes. All the restaurants were hopping, so I appreciate everyone that came down, and I got a chance to ask everyone who came to my table, are you local? And a lot of people were from out of town because of the bike races. So I asked everyone who was from out of town, how has your experience been in Washington County? And every single person talked about how beautiful this county was. They loved downtown Hagerstown. All of them said that all the local people were friendly. The restaurants they tried were great, that they loved the event being downtown. It was much different than the day before in the county. And so I asked a couple of them if we could get it on film so they could show the local people that they loved it here. But it was refreshing to hear. I was pretty upset when I got up this morning and read the Herald Mail article that there were some frustrated people from out of town about abuse they received and about the KKK mailer that was all around. And I read a lot of the comments, which I know we shouldn't do, but you know, there was a lot of unfortunate things being said, like, oh, this is just Washington County. That's just how it's been. It's always been like that. You know, I've grown up here 32 years now, and I've had the KKK pamphlets put on my car before, and I remember growing up finding them on the street, and that is not Washington County. It's not. And it's disgusting that there are people out there that feel it's appropriate to place material like that. I mean, this is 2018. The hateful language that is used in those pamphlets, I mean, the one that today that was posted online had the N-word in it. I mean, really? Like, if you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and think that the skin you were born wrapped in makes you better than anyone else, like, I don't represent you. I just want to make that clear at all. And the emails that we've been getting, you know, with the statement the council made about the comments that Mayor Brucci made, we've received some pretty interesting emails since then, hateful terms, you know, talking about the color of people's skin, talking about different religions being superior to others. I mean, we fought a whole war against this, and newsflash, you lost. But, I mean, it's scary that there are still people out there that live that way. And to read, you know, that's just how Hagerstown is. That's just how Washington County is. I'm here to tell you that is not how Hagerstown or Washington County is. We are way better than that. And keep seeing people say we need to talk about it. We need to say we don't stand for that. So I just wanted to make it very clear, I do not stand for that. And I'm pretty sure I can speak on every elected official in this room, the city administrator, the chief of police. We don't stand for that. Correct. So wanted to make that very clear.
Thank you. Lou?
Well, I want to echo everybody's statements about this weekend and all aspects of it. And I know Austin, like myself, has used me more in the past tense, and Austin in the current tense have been avid bicyclists for a long time. So anybody who is an active bicyclist in this area happens to know a little secret about Western Maryland and Washington County. It's one of the finest places in the world for recreational biking. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that these folks from all over the country found this to be a wonderful place to be. And it also doesn't surprise me that we beat out San Diego, because we are a much nicer community. As far as the other aspects of life, I would just ask our city administrator if she could please get us the appropriate mailing address and contact with Velo Cycling out of Colorado.
Okay.
I think what the newspaper is quoting them as saying is very appropriate, which is, geez, if you would like us to come back next year, we would really like to hear from the community indicating this really isn't acceptable. And I think that, I know I want to individually pen a letter. I would be happy to sign one from the mayor and council, but I certainly want to individually pen one, and I think it's an important thing for these folks to understand it. And I might add, just from my point of view, and maybe I'm an old man, but when it comes to these types of things, I don't think the way to communicate with these folks is by email. I think a letter is an appropriate way to do it. I would like to see their mailbox filled with actual letters from our elected officials and citizens in this community of the outrage they feel. It is not Hagerstown, it's not Washington County, it's America. It's America, and it exists. And as many of us who have been subject to these kinds of discriminations know, it takes two, it takes three people. It takes Westboro Baptist Church to come down here with 8 people, and suddenly we have to have tractor trailers, busloads of police to come down because of them. The KKK has been in this area for a long time. South County is where it mainly seems to like. The last KKK rally in this community was held in Sharpsburg. It was, I think, about 10 or 12 years ago. And the bottom line is, I think we had about 500 state troopers and county sheriffs, and I think somewhere between 8 and 9 Klansmen. And that's what happens. And it takes one person to do what this person did, and that's what you get. I may note the other bike races have not been immune to this type of activity. Those of us who have watched the Tour de France have seen whole fleets of people flatten out on downhills because of tacks thrown in the road. And indeed, they had to stop the tour this year because of farmers deciding to put out hay bales in protest. So it is something that we'll have discussions about what can be done next year to improve everything. But I'll say one thing, downtown Hagerstown was wonderful. And the other thing I will say, there's 2 of us from the last administration, and I blame all this activity. I blame us getting this. I blame everything that's going on downtown on the cultural trail. And for those of us who are down on both sides of this thing, one maybe the start-finish line, but down where the block party was, and seeing the people walking that trail, and understanding that if that trail wasn't there, nothing that happened down there would have been the same. And I think that was the precursor of people understanding that we were serious about downtown renovation. In hindsight, I think it will go down as one of the smartest things we've ever done. And thank you.
I have to reiterate, gosh, everything that, you guys said, I stand behind each sentiment. I too was at the bike race. I did get to blow my whistle one time, which was very exciting. The fact, when you're putting these medals on these kids that are from California and Tennessee and, all across the country, and they're so excited to be here, and they were so polite and so friendly, and the families were so polite and so friendly. The city of Hagerstown received so many compliments on the way that the organization, I heard it several times throughout the day on how easy the city of Hagerstown was to work with. That's just a really proud moment for me as a council member. I have to give a huge shout out to the CVB, Audrey and Dan. Audrey kept her cool the entire time, and it was amazing. I would have probably been a nervous wreck, but she was calm and cool and collected. And the only thing that I would recommend is that when we're able to do it again, I would say that if we could highly encourage the downtown restaurants to be open on Sunday. The Gourmet Goat was closed. I know the Rhubarb House isn't typically open, but imagine if, those people that are from out of the area are giving those restaurants good reviews, because good reviews, positive feedback, it's always very helpful. So that would be my only suggestion. Otherwise, I thought it was fantastic. And to be honest, that's the city that I want to live in, where it's bustling and it's happy and there's things going on and activities. It was a great opportunity. That's it. Thanks.
Well, since everybody seems a little long-winded tonight, I'm gonna take my turn.
We don't have that much time there.
Oh, we have time. I've given myself 5 minutes. I'm gonna come down here and sit, because I need people to understand this. I haven't had the opportunity to express to the citizens of Hagerstown how deeply I regret my comment that shone terrible light on the city of Hagerstown. I would never do anything intentionally to ever harm the reputation of the people of the city of Hagerstown or this elected body. Yes, I made a comment. Yes, it was a stupid comment, but one I shouldn't have used. But what I want to say is that as much as I regret saying what I said, using the word that I used, I don't regret defending my president, and I never will. I wish Jimmy Devine was still here. Sure, I don't agree with him on everything. I don't agree with these guys on everything, but I respect his office. It's the office of the president. I'm not going to change that because I do respect him. And I find it odd when someone calls the Herald Mail to report a Facebook post. Now, this is a Facebook post. This is social media where supposedly adults interact. Today, I'll give you an example. Under the post about the KKK pamphlets and the biker that got struck during the race, it's hateful. It's terrible. A woman made a post referring to, well, what do you expect when the mayor makes hateful comments about a person's race or religion or whatever the remainder of that post was. So I defended myself, which I'm known to do on Facebook. And I said, you're an idiot if you think that my post had anything to do with race or religion, because it didn't. It didn't have anything to do, in my mind, with race or religion. Now, hindsight's 20/20, and I can look at it and I can see where people would assume that. But that's not how it is. So, as adults, we discussed it under that post, back and forth. She explained her position. I, in turn, apologized for calling her an idiot. And she accepted my apology. We liked each other's post, and we moved on, as adults do. Now, I know CJ tried to reach out to me today about a post on Facebook where I called someone an idiot. Well, here's the deal. I have two Facebook accounts. One is the mayor of Hagerstown, Maryland. The other is my personal page. If you don't like my post, if you don't want to hear from me, block me, unfriend me, don't follow me. That's your right. If my comments where I am going to support my president upset you, please do us all a favor. Don't read them. Just block me. Now, social media is a double-edged sword because I enjoy reading social media. I enjoy posting things about the great things that are happening in the city of Hagerstown. And I do that. It also has a dark side, and we see it. We saw it under that post today, the dark side. When Emily is talking about emails that we've received here at City Hall, the mayor and council, you know, I do the same thing with those emails I do to post on Facebook I don't want to see. I delete them. That's what I do. Now, they are hateful emails, I will tell you. Hateful and hate-filled, and I just don't see how anyone who has any kind of a conscience or a heart could possibly send emails like that. So, again, I want to apologize to my citizens for shining a bad light on the city of Hagerstown. And I can guarantee you that the conversations and the visits that I've had with our Muslim community have been wonderful, uplifting for everyone. So, thank you for allowing me this time, and I just try to do better. Thanks. All right, next up, there are no minutes tonight. Hopefully our clerk will be back soon. I need to get a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that all items on the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. There's no unfinished business, but under new business, we have an introduction of an ordinance deed to convey land for 50 to 52 East Baltimore Street.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move to introduce an ordinance for staff to execute a deed conveying 0.053 acres of property known as 50 East Baltimore Street to Jack L. Holden II and Kristen G. Holden, adjoining property owners of 52 East Baltimore Street. The land is no longer needed for a public purpose.
Second.
All in favor? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution for approval of public art agreement with Eric Ricks.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for the approval of a resolution authorizing an agreement for public art between the City of Hagerstown and Eric Ricks for a mural at the University Plaza. Funding for the project is $5,000 from the Maryland State Arts Council and $2,500 from the City of Hagerstown. I further move to approve a resolution to enter into a grant agreement with the Maryland State Arts Council for their share of the funding.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that for a relatively small amount of money, I think these types of projects, as we go through year by year and continue these, are going to ultimately be one of the things that truly makes Hagerstown a destination point for people to come to.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll be taking off the approval resolution for public art agreement with Christian Benefiel for this evening, and we'll revisit that. Resolution to authorize entering into a grant agreement with the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for the Maryland Theater Expansion Project.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the attached resolution to authorize entering into the attached grant agreement with the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for an FY18 Strategic Demolition Fund award of $300,000 for the Maryland Theater expansion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution to authorize entering into a subrecipient grant agreement with the Maryland Theater to pass through a state grant for the expansion project.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the attached resolution to authorize entering into the attached subrecipient agreement with the Maryland Theater to pass through the Department of Housing and Community Development's FY18 Strategic Demolition Fund award of $300,000 for the Maryland Theater expansion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Liability and property insurance for fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the fiscal 2019 renewal of insurance coverages with the Local Government Insurance Trust, LGIT, for liability, auto, and property insurance in the amount of $391,322.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And approval to renew manual maintenance contract for the municipal financial system software with Tyler Technologies Incorporated.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of the renewal of the maintenance contract for support of the municipal financial system software with Tyler Technologies, Inc. The cost of the renewal is $214,354.38, including $30,000 for database administrative support and $178,364.38 for support and update licensing for 29 program modules and $6,000 for unlimited seat licensing.
Second.
Discussion?
Hey, can I ask, is this just an annual basis, that we pay almost $250,000 for?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This will
Keep it-
include a pretty substantial upgrade to the system.
And it runs a
Some-
lot
so
of,
some
runs a lot of
year-
our systems.
Everything.
Yep.
Everything that we do, all of our billing, all of our accounting, everything, yes.
And I just noticed, We spend a lot of time talking about the $20,000 items, boy, but we can go through $500,000 real quick with that. And I mean, I don't mean to be sarcastic, there's
No,
not, there's
I-
no discussion to be had here, but that's, if people want to know where their money goes, these are the answers.
And will the upgrade allow us to do more of that tier like we had talked about? Or, like-
I don't have all the details of what it will do, but I know that some of the folks that have already been practicing on it have said that it's much more user-friendly. We'll get much more reporting out of it and some of those sort of things.
Good.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And with that, good evening, we're adjourned.